I wonder if you know anybody just now who is stumbling or is going in the wrong direction in an area of their life. Do you know anybody whose habits has taken them in an unhelpful direction in terms of their health? Do you know anybody who's involved in relationships or a relationship that's actually harmful to them? Do you know anybody who's gone down a track financially that is damaging to them? Do you know anyone they're coming out with hard words and they're unkind because there's obviously something in their heart? Maybe there's bitterness and there's hardness they haven't dealt with. Probably like me, there will be people come to mind. There's people who've got situations going on. So the question is, why don't you say something? Why don't I say something if there's somebody you care about, someone you love, somebody you know, and they're going in a certain direction, they're stumbling? Why don't we say something? Because it's not easy to speak truth to people. It's not easy because we're held back by emotions. We're held back by fear, perhaps, or apprehension. How will they respond if I bring it up? How will our friendship go if I challenge them? What happens if they reject me? What happens if they get really angry? And the fear and apprehension can hold us back from speaking truth, from really helping and caring for people. But do you want fear and apprehension to be the boss of you? I read recently an amazing story, and I've got it here actually. It's about a Chinese woman who was so scared to confront. She wanted to split up from her boyfriend. Her name was Hughes, and her boyfriend was called Lin. And there was a Chinese couple, and she was so scared from splitting up with him, of telling him he was over because of his reaction and to be clingy, that she decided to pretend she'd been abducted. So she phoned him up and said, I've been abducted by my ex-boyfriend. And then she started sending him texts, pretending they were from her ex-boyfriend who'd kidnapped her. And then she sent texts from her ex-boyfriend saying actually that she'd been killed. She was so desperate to avoid the confrontation, and she hoped by doing that Lynn, her boyfriend, would think, I better let it go because she's been kidnapped, she's disappeared, her ex-boyfriend's killed her, I'll probably just accept that split up. Obviously, he didn't do nothing, and he went to the police, and the police tried to find out where she was and found out actually she was just hiding in a hotel room. Sometimes people can go to extremes, can't they? Because we find it hard to confront, hard to speak truth because of the reaction, which means that fear and apprehension can be the boss of us, and who wants that? Or sometimes it can be indifference that's the boss of us in these circumstances. We won't always say it's indifference. We might say, well, it's none of my business. Who am I to interfere in that situation? That's their life. It's nothing to do with me. And we'll try and distance ourselves and kind of draw circles around each other as if we're not connected. When, do you want indifference to be the boss of you? Do you want, more importantly, indifference to be the boss of your friends? And when you're in trouble, when you're going down the wrong track and you can't see it, do you want them to be indifferent? Do you want them to be people who don't want to interfere and think, well, it's nothing to do with me, the direction you go in, what happens financially or relationally, what happens in terms of the damage you do to your life? No, of course we don't want indifference and apprehension to be the boss of us. And when you become a Jesus follower, when you become a Christian, essentially one of the things that means is you place Jesus as the boss of you and not negative emotions, not even yourself. You say, actually, Jesus, you're the boss of me. And I think that's a great decision to make because Jesus gives us a better life and he makes us better at life when we follow his instructions and the way that he's designed the world. But that doesn't always mean that it's easy to follow Jesus. It's not always easy and it's not always straightforward. And sometimes, actually, it's the complete opposite.